Everything is on the table. It's Relationship Theory with Tina Laws.
Welcome back to Relationship Theory, where we talk about all things relationships, where no topic is off the table. And before we went on break, we were talking briefly about should your significant other have access to your password. And both Matthew and Gina was adamant that they should never have to give their significant other their password. And I beg to differ. And so, Matthew, what happens when you've been married for 5-10 years, you have a family, and you go on vacation, and your wife needs to get into your email or even your cell phone for some reason or the other? You might have left your cell phone home. Now you need some very important information in that cell phone. What is your thought about that?
I mean, I still don't think you necessarily need to get into the cell phone. I mean, I was going to say she could call me, but I don't know how she's going to do that if I've not got my cell phone. But I mean, I think at the same time, I don't necessarily know. I mean, the important information, I think, generally should be discussed anyway. So I think she should have that. I don't think anything that she's going to need, I'm going to have only in my cell phone.
Yeah. And you mentioned earlier about trust. She should trust you. So if we think about it from another point of view, if your relationship is built on trust, why can't she have your cell phone password or your email address password or all those other passwords? If your relationship is built on trust, what do we have to hide?
Well, I don't think it's necessarily so much of a thing of having things to hide, but there's just a level of privacy. Okay. You know, like I said, you could have discussions with friends or that kind of things that maybe if a friend's sharing something close with me to be shared just with me, you know, then maybe they're going through a difficult time or they're having their own issues, but they don't want that shared with, you know, necessarily my significant other. They want that, you know, that's something for me and those kind of things. I think there should be a level of having some sort of individuality and privacy.
Yeah. So really what you're saying is that for all of those who do have their significant other's password and do intrude on their friendships, that the conversations they have with their friendships, you would say that that's not something they should do?
I mean, I wouldn't want it. And I'm sure if a friend's are sharing that kind of things with me, I'm sure they wouldn't appreciate that.
But then we got to remember, we have a lot of couples that talk about everything. And so although we don't want to give our passwords and you and your friends having this major conversation, you may just come home to your significant other and have that conversation. So now what happens when they say, oh, well, we talk about everything else? What's the big secret? What if, okay, for both of you, what happens if, okay, I understand because I don't have my husband's password. I've never even asked for it, so I wouldn't even know if I can have it or not. And that's just my personal feeling too. I don't have a password, so I get what you're saying. But I would wonder how I would feel if, when I leave her, I better ask for it. How I would feel if I asked for his password and he told me no. Because what I would gather too, I guess what people gather is that, well, what are you hiding? Because I'm just thinking about it. What are you hiding if I can't have your password?
But I don't think it's a matter of hiding anything at all as much as it is like when you look at phones, for example. Phones are an important part of our lives. It's almost like your phone is your friend.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people use them as your friend, the ways of communicating. So having your phone is like having a private conversation with another individual. If you and I are outside because we want to whisper and we want to talk about something that's heavy on my mind or something that's heavy on your mind, and it's between us. It's between us. Yeah. I'm not expecting you to share it with your husband. And if you do, I'm hoping that he doesn't say anything to anybody else, right? But if it's between us, then a cell phone is just like that. It's that private piece where it's just your information. It's for you. If it was a shared account, then everybody would have, just like in the old days, just one phone that everybody answered. But it isn't that anymore. It's not just a phone. It has so many other aspects to it. And like Matthew said earlier, business accounts, portfolios. People work from their phones nowadays.
Yeah, yeah.
And sometimes your work might be sensitive.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's like, oh, you can't have it because you're so, you need to know my
Insecure or
business or
something.
anything like that. As much as it is, this is my personal space. It's if I want to write my thoughts down, those are my thoughts. And I don't want to share those thoughts with anybody else. If I wanted to share with anybody else, I'll put them on a whiteboard where everything that everybody needs to share and knows about. And like you were talking earlier about things that you do share, bank accounts.
Yeah.
In the event, Matthew or myself are overseas and somebody's and we're overseas together, right? You know this, right? So that and somebody needs to get in contact with him to get in contact, to find some information. More than likely, it's information that should have been shared in the first place. Like bank account numbers or at that stage where you start thinking about your funeral plans, those kinds of things. So those are things that should be readily accessible. But your phone is personal. You can't control
other people.
You can't control the acts. You can friend me and follow me and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But that still can't make me stop doing what I'm going to do.
But think about it. We can't control them. We can tell them no, like we do. You can't have my password.
Right.
And so.
But that's not controlling them.
It's
controlling
power
yourself.
for yourself.
Right.
Yes. But. So let's talk a little bit more about that. Let's talk about trust and how we gather information or gain trust from our partner or mistrust when we come back. Talk soon.
Relationship Theory. We'll be right back after these messages.